Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be taking a first look and also test drive the new Kia EV3, the small brother of the Kia EV9 that we've already reviewed on the top right corner if you do want to check that out. This car is going to start at around 36,000 euros and our test vehicle around 51,000, a little bit more than 51,000 because we have it standing in the most, expensive variant, the GT line. This car only comes with one engine variant and those are all is going to be a front wheel drive system with 204 horsepower and 283 Newton meters, but you can choose between two different battery sizes, so 58.3 and also an 81.4 kilowatts an hour battery, and all those are going to charge at different speeds. We'll look at that in a second when we're on this side. Like I already mentioned, this car is going to be available in the Air, the Earth and also the GT line variant, so all of them are going to have a couple of different features. We have the GT line variant here, so the design in the front is a little bit more aggressive with this sportier looking front, as well as this kind of line that goes down on the side looking more aggressive. We also have the typical Tiger nose, which is this small element up here. Lights on the sides, which are going to be 12 module LED lights with high beam assistant. You get LED lights with high beam assistant standard wise, but you can upgrade to these 12 module lights. Otherwise in the front, looking fairly sporty in my opinion, and we also have a 25-liter frunk in the front if you do want to use that. So the car does have a fairly bulky design, however the CV value is 0.263, so actually fairly low and good for the car. You'll notice on the inside it's also very well isolated and not much wind turbulence at all. When it comes to the rims, you can choose between 17 and 19-inch rims. 17 you get with the standard Air variant, then the Earth you also get 17-inch with the option to upgrade to 19-inch, which have a different design than the GT line, and the GT line you can only get these 19-inch rims which come standard wise. On the side here, on the front, you're also going to be able to charge the car. They have changed the design a little bit, so now you have this kind of like dividing sign here, which you can see on the right here. If it's locked and it's unlocked, it's blue, green, orange and also red. You have two different battery versions like I already mentioned. The smaller one is going to be able to charge at 101 kilowatts at a DC charging, fast charging speed, and then the bigger battery is going to charge at 128 kilowatt. You can also at a home charge it up to 10.5 kilowatts. It's going to take you between 31 minutes for the bigger battery and the smaller one 29 minutes. So fairly decent. We have this big surrounding of the wheelbase, of the wheel hub, and then also on the side skirt here you get this with the GT line. You get it colored in the color of the car, which in this is it's not adventure green, but it's an adventure like green. Don't know why they exactly named it like that. You have these foldable in side doors handles. If I close it, it should close up. Let me quickly try it out. There you go, it's going to flush in to get a lower CV value, and automatically foldable side mirrors starting with the Earth variant. Then on the back here you also have a very good design with the door handles up on the top, for instance like a Renault Clio, and then further onto the side, we'll look at that in a second. So the car's also going to be very great for the city because we only have a wheelbase of 2.68 meters and a total length of 4.30 meters. If you theoretically get the GT line, 4.31 meters. Height of the car 1.56 meters. The width of the car 1.85 meters, and also a turning circle of only 10.4 meters. The battery weight of this car is also going to vary, 100 kilograms or 95 kilograms difference between those, so 375 and 470 kilograms. And the design in the back, typical kind of like EV9 design as well, with these light bars which go on the side and up towards the top, with this little of a roof spoiler which goes out on the back. You can theoretically tow up to 1,000 kilograms with this variant. If you get the smaller batteries, 500 kilograms. And down here you can also see a different diffuser, which I do really like, and with this nice little reflector down there and this good looking diffuser in my opinion. If you now open the trunk, which is electrical, you are going to be able to store 460 liters up to 1,251 liters with that frunk in the front, so a little bit more storage space and storage space below here for your tire fit, safety kit and stuff like that, but still a fairly practical boot in my opinion. So the seat in front of me is now adjusted to almost like a 2-meter person, because when you step into the car, the seat's going to move back a little bit. So this is a little bit further back than usual. Footroom is also quite good enough. A little bit of space in there. We got a big center console where you can store a couple of things. You got your own climate zone, but without different climatization, so it's all done through the front. You got heated seats in the back, so with 3 different types of heated seats, so 3 different kind of intensity. You got 2 USB-Cs on the seats in front of you. You also have a center console where you have 2 cup holders in here, and actually very good quality. This is also the interior with the leather like well, fake leather that they have in here, which is all like vegan leather as well. So very good. And you also got a good amount of space. Headroom is also good. If you're 1.90 m, then I think you'd be getting to your limit. If you're also sitting in the center, you don't have a center tunnel, typical for the EGMP platform or electric cars in general. It's not too big of an increase that you're sitting on, so you could theoretically sit in here for a little bit of a longer time, and with two people, maybe a couple of hours or an hour or two. But otherwise, you don't really want to sit in here for too long. You don't have these beautiful headrests that you have on the front. You don't have those in the back, sadly. So join me in the inside of the Kia EV3. You can see a couple of things that have changed. For instance, I'm not a big fan of this, I gotta say. We have this like table which slides out with no cup holders up here, but quick binds for a couple of things. And there's also no storage space down there, so you can't really store anything in the front, apart from this very big storage space down here, where you also get two cup holders with this wonderful function. I always love to press that. And inductive loading space down here, two USB-C ports, and also 180 watt charging speed in there. This typical design with the infotainment display, this new with the, which is also on the Kia EV9, you have your temperature and your climate control in there, and your digital or the infotainment display. You can also change with the temperature, for instance, with these buttons. Always nice that you have this integrated, because that gets blocked with the steering wheel. We have a fairly bulky steering wheel. Otherwise, quality feels fairly decent in here for the price. Definitely not bad. Let's also now, well, go back into P and then go into the, okay, this is always confusing. Let's start the car back up. And then we can go into reverse. Then we also see the camera, which is fairly high quality. We have 360-degree camera. You can also move it around if you want. And you also have, if you go on the side here, we can also see, actually, if I go in the front in a second, you can see this is, for instance, if you have a towing hook on there. Let's wait for that car to pass. Otherwise, surrounding view is, well, it's okay. The window in the front is fairly big, and also on the side it's big, but in the back the C-pillar is fairly dominant, and also a fairly small rear window, so you don't have too much view out the back. But with all the safety features, 360-degree camera, collision warner, and side assist and stuff like that. And there you go. You can see the side cameras for your rims, which is nice. If you have the bigger rims, you can obviously, well, look after them a little bit more, but you'll also get less range. While we're talking about range, we can see currently we're at 92%. We're looking at a range now of 365 kilometers, but what I like to see is that they have a max and minimum. So if you drive fairly sporty, you're going to be looking at around 300 kilometers. Also, if you want to turn off the EU assistant with that speed warner, hold down the volume button for a little bit, it's going to turn off. But max, if you drive very, well, mainly in the city and just drive the car very eco-friendly or very efficient, then you'd be looking at 686 kilometers. Like to see that. What you do also have is quite a lot of safety features or assistant features, adaptive cruise control. You also have lane change assist on the Autobahn, so highway assistant 2.0 if you opt for it. That's going to be an extra that you do have to get. Heads-up display, a very big steering wheel, which we already know from, for instance, the EV9. Looks a little bit different on the bottom here, but physical buttons, which I like always to see. And you also have your button here for your drive mode, so you can press on that. You have sport, normal, eco, snow, and also my drive. Doesn't really change anything apart from the gas pedal responsiveness. Otherwise, you don't have active dampers in here, which are going to change depending on which mode you're in or stuff like that. It's also going to stiffen up the steering wheel a little bit. But what I am surprised about is the quality of this car, the way it drives, the way it feels. You wouldn't expect it for the price segment of 35,000 euros. Obviously, we're sitting in a little bit more expensive variant now, but that doesn't change the fact that it is still the same engine that you get in those lower variants. So the 204 horsepower, 283 Newton meters, 0 to 100 with this variant, 7.9 seconds. With the lower rims and the other variants, with the Earth, I think, with the with the front wheel drive. And the 17-inch, I think 7.5 is the fastest you're going to be looking at when driving this car. We do also have on the side here, if we, for instance, blink, we can see we have cameras on the side, which are typical from Hyundai, Kia. Otherwise, like I already mentioned, it feels more premium than what you're paying if you do opt for the lowest variant. We have heated seat, ventilated seats, also heated seats in the rear like we already had. Quality, if you compare it, for instance, to an EX30, I feel more at home in this car. It doesn't feel as cheap. You step in, it doesn't feel so cheap. The quality is obviously, you don't have the best quality in here, but it's still a quality that you like to touch, and I personally like the way it looks. My cameraman doesn't like it too much. I personally do like the white and kind of the beige touches. I think that does look pretty good. And one thing that's also surprising about this car is the sound deadening. It is very quiet at all speeds. Well, not very quiet, but better than definitely expected from this car. Quieter at 130, you can speak without having to speak up. And it is very well isolated, as well as the suspension. The suspension feels very good. It is fairly smooth. It smooths out the road a lot and just gives you a great experience, especially when you're driving this in the city. You get a good amount of range. You're driving this fairly comfortably as well, and not really having any issues when you're stepping out the car. You're like, okay, that was a nice drive. I liked it. Also, sound system in here, you can upgrade, for instance, to the Harman Kardon sound system that we have in here. If you do want to opt for a little bit more, well, better sound, then you can choose that. And we do also have the first time in the Kia is the iPedal 3.0, which is basically like the Volkswagen models that we have, for instance, the new ID3, ID4, ID7, get that, which is if we go with the pedals and change it, we can go into the auto setting. Well, if I go all the way, let's go to the max, and then you can see iPedal. There we go, iPedal. And then we can also go all the way to the side, and it's going to change it to automatic. And now it's on auto, and that is going to mean that it is going to change depending on via GPS data if there's a sharp corner coming around. We haven't had a sharp corner where it slows down the car, but you can see now I'm not on the gas pedal and it knows the car in front of me is driving a little bit slower, so it's going to smooth it out a little bit and slow the car down, which is nice to see, and that's very comfortable, especially when you're driving in the city. You don't have to, well, constantly manage your gas input or your pedal input, and therefore just have a more relaxed driving experience. But otherwise, right here, we're cruising at 73, and I'm speaking fairly quietly because the car is just so well isolated and feels very comfortable with these amazing headrests as well. You can sleep in these. These are basically like my office chair desk, and these headrests are so comfortable. These like this mesh kind of texture, and wow, they are great. I really, if I choose a car, I think this is one of the things I definitely pick up because they feel great. This is also the infotainment display. You can see navigation putting us to, I don't know why, well, there's a waypoint there, so that's why it's putting us there. But we're on our way back now, and okay, cool. And it does also have route planning, so if you want to have charging spots in there, it's going to automatically plan your trip with route charging, which is also always great to see. Infotainment display is easy to use. Obviously, if you're a little bit older, maybe it's quite a lot of tech that you might have to get used to, but you don't have too many screens. You just have your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto wirelessly. You can choose between here. You have your navigation on the spot right at the start, and then the constant beeping that you know from Kia Hyundai. That is, for instance, if I'm not looking at the road for a little bit, it's gonna warn me and to tell me, hey yo man, look at the road. That's how I think a South Korean might sound like. Totally not. And the thing about this car, it is, you don't really need to talk about the horsepower because that's not what the car is meant for. It's not supposed to be driving sporty. It is on the eGMP platform, where there are obviously a couple of other cars which are a little bit more sporty. But 204 horsepower is completely fine for your daily use, and even if you're driving on the Autobahn, 7.5 seconds, 7.9 for this car, completely fine. But this car is more meant for, well, getting into the e-mobility and looking at a more cheaper price. That's why it's also only on the 400 volt architecture. So you're looking at a cheaper price, a good car that gets a good amount of horsepower and gets you around the city, allowing you to overtake as well. Not, for instance, well, Dacia Spring also allows you to overtake, but just with a little bit more comfort and also a little bit more oomph behind it. What is the punch like? Obviously, 130. So hopefully this guy's gonna overtake you quickly, but well, you don't get too much punch here, but already up to 110, and then he's gonna move out the side. And look, that builds up fairly quickly. You know, a little bit of wind noise picking up now. Side mirrors are obviously a little bit bigger, but still at 130, this is very comfortable. And then all you can do is put this on, and then adaptive cruise control, and now you have adaptive cruise control selected. And what I always love about Kia steering wheels is, for instance, you just have to put your hand on it. You don't have to jiggle it around so that it knows that you're still driving the car, which is always great because you don't have to constantly do this. You just have to have your hand on here, and then it's gonna, well, work. So what is my final verdict on the Kia EV3? Well, I'm very happy that Kia decided to bring out a smaller car compared to the EV6, for instance, just like Hyundai is doing with the Insta. So I think it's a great car to get into the e-mobility variants of, well, car technology nowadays, and I think Kia is really stepping it up with all the stuff that they're bringing out, and for the price, a very competitive car. I personally would not choose the GT line due to the fact that the extra price that you're paying, I personally don't think it is worth the money that you have to spend in it. And I know a lot of people that like the design of, for instance, the Earth in the Air a little bit more than the sportier one. I think in the back it looks quite a lot better. But in general, I'd personally go with the Earth one with a bigger battery, with the 17-inch rims to get the most comfort and also the most amount of range. and I think then you're going to be very good off with this car. And I think quality-wise, this is a very superb car. So hopefully you guys did enjoy, and make sure to like, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.